right, Brutal Planet listeners, it's Joey here. I have the honor to talk with Mike about the Devil Wears Prada's new album, The Color Decay. It will be released September 16th. That's about a week or little over a week from now. So, Mike, thank you for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Thanks, Joey. I'm in Nashville today,
Oh, okay.
just wrapping up tour. Yeah.
Nice. Now, I heard a while back that you moved to Wisconsin. When did you do that?
I moved to Wisconsin. It's about 4 years ago.
Okay. That's where I'm from. I grew up about an hour northeast, or sorry, northwest of Milwaukee. And I think you're in Milwaukee, right?
Yep, yep.
What do you think of the winters?
Oh, I love it. I mean,
Yeah.
winter goes a little long, but I love seasons. I lived in Chicago 9 years.
Okay.
I still love Chicago, which is why I kind of went to Milwaukee. It was just to slow things down, but still have easy access. But yeah, I love living in Wisconsin. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. The cheese is better than anywhere else too, right?
A lot of cheese, certainly a lot of cheese.
Yeah. I've lived in Minnesota now for almost 5 years, but just can't find the same quality cheese here in Minnesota as back home. So, but anyways, we're here to talk about the album, The Color Decay. It's your eighth album, I believe. Uh, how does that feel, man? 17 years in.
Oh, it's wild. I think back to like when we first put together Dear Love, our first full length, and being like, how the hell do bands string together so many songs to make an album? And then yeah, next thing you know, we're on number eight. I thought it was number seven until I started doing press for the album. So I'm apt to lose track, we'll
Yeah.
say.
Well, I've been a fan since Dear Love, so it's been quite a ride as a fan as well, and just hearing the progression, the maturity of the band, the changes, all that. I've loved every album. Each one's so different, but it's been great, and I absolutely love this new one. I've listened to it quite a few times here since getting it last week, and it's great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to start out with a couple cliche questions. Probably you've got these many times before, but our listeners are going to want to hear about it. The color decay, the title, where does that come from, and maybe explain a little bit about that.
Uh, John had a working title for the record as we made all the songs. I was kind of under the idea or the notion that that was going to be the record title, but by the time we finished, we kind of thought it was worth exploring other ideas, and I just thought that Color Decay it does its best at summing up the songs as much as this is not a conceptual record, but it a lot of looking at the songs across the record look at the degradation of something once bright or glossy, perhaps, and um, yeah, I thought Color Decay kind of put that together, or at least did its best to sum things up. I always find it's much easier to have a record title before writing a record, but sometimes that's not how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was the writing process like for this? Did you guys start like in the pandemic, or was it before or after? Or
Yeah, so really, after making Z2, we just kept on it and kept rolling right from there. Specifically, John, who produced and wrote a lot of the songs, but yeah, just kind of carried the momentum. I think our first writing session together was August, might have been July. It was summer of last year.
okay.
We got an Airbnb up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin,
Oh, nice.
coincidentally, and that was about where the songs really started taking shape further.
Nice. Well, it's that means even more to me that that was kind of written or put together only 20 minutes from my hometown. So I grew up in Waupun, if you know where that is, but small world. Well,
Yep.
anyways, the album artwork, who came up with that and how did that come to be?
So usually I'm pretty hands on. This time, not so much.
Okay.
This was our first time putting out singles before announcing the album and everything. So um, really, Harry, who did the album artwork, I think he. Let me think. he did all the single artwork, including Sacrifice, which was the first single. And yeah, long story short, he just he put together a lot of different options that we filtered through and chose the singles from, and then ultimately he did the whole layout, or the cover at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy the cover. It's there's no color, that's kind of cool. Intentional, I'd imagine, but yeah, it's just got this eerie feeling to it. Um, it kind of personifies, I think, the listening to the whole album. You can really hear a lot of emotion in this one. It seems much more than others to me, anyways. And I don't know, the cover just kind of gives you that intro to what the album's going to sound like. So I really like that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, always want to have something individual, something unique to speak for the album visually. So yeah, it's been came together well.
Yeah. As yeah, like when you guys play live now to promote this album, is some of that gray cover art kind of thing going to be appearing on the stage or anything? Or
We'll see. We actually don't have a headline tour lined up. We're headlining right now, playing our zombie EPs.
okay,
And we're playing four of the new songs, the singles that we've so far released.
okay,
Um, but otherwise, yeah, we'll see how things look in 2023 in terms of what headlining will look like with Color Decay and the production and all that.
sure. Um, I also noticed another thing, Mike. This is the first full length with all one word song titles. Was that intentional or did that just happen?
It It was very much intentional. It actually turns out it's terribly difficult to do it that many times. Our zombie EPs are single words, but those themes are certainly nothing like the themes that we carry into a full length. But
Right.
yeah, it's just like usually you have working titles for songs that are one word, and then this time around it was just like the working titles really kind of spoke for the songs, even in the greater picture or the greater scheme of things. So, yeah, one word was the vibe.
Okay. Well, here's a question for you to go way back in the memory bank, but like on like Dear Love or something like that, like back when you had these really long titles, who came up with those? Was that you or someone else?
It was all of us. It was just, kind of throwing these stupid ideas in a hat, basically. And um, I don't know. Like I remember Dillinger doing it and Underoath doing it. And
Yeah.
um, we've always had a certain level of comedy. We're pretty lighthearted dudes, as much as the songs usually don't take to that. So
Yeah.
I think it was just sort of like a comedic release back in the day.
Yeah. No, it's just funny, like not saying those songs weren't serious, but just the titles, you take from your earlier stuff till now and just how it's just matured over the last 17 years. It's very different. So
It
um
has been, yeah, it's been 17 years. I was 16 when it started, so I would
yeah.
hope things are a little bit different.
Um I usually, Mike, I usually like to just talk about like one of your singles and then dive into some of the other tracks if that's okay, and kind of hear a story, maybe behind the lyrics or how it was written, how it came to be, or something like that. But I don't want to overwhelm you with the questions about all the singles and stuff like that. But I did want to ask you about Time, because that's one of my favorite Prada songs, I think, of all time. It's just been an earworm for me the last week here. As I keep listening to the album over and over, that's the one that always just stands out. So, what can you tell us about Time and maybe a little bit about the music video or something?
Yeah, I mean, really, like, you know, um, a lot of what Color Decay, or the songs that make up Color Decay, are certainly very derivative of getting older, and again, starting when you're 16 years old, and how things feel making music when you're 33 years old. So Time kind of just is a very sort of blanket statement at the how fast things can go and how slow things can go. I think that oftentimes, I don't know, I've kind of like put like, I don't know, I've like, doing this for half my life, I look at my life in terms of like what tour I did in what year and when I was in Europe for this, or then we did this headline tour, supported this band or whatever. And a lot of it just feels like, some days it feels like you're awake for 48 hours waiting to play. And then
Mm.
at the same time, I'll be told that like, oh, well, that was 8 years ago. And I'm like, no, that was like 2018. I was like, no, it was 8 years ago. So
Wow.
sort of just, yeah, plays to the elasticity of time, and um, trying to have a sort of objective look at it, perhaps a more subjective look at it, at at what life has become for us as musicians, and doing this with Prada for so long.
Yeah. Hmm. All right. Well, the music video. Where was that filmed, and who came up with the idea behind that?
Uh, Chris and Kate, they've done all of our music videos since Z2, really since COVID. We
Okay.
met Chris through a studio we've been working at for a while in Kansas City. So all the videos have been done in Kansas City, and Chris and Kate have directed all of them since Forlorn on Z2.
Okay. Yeah, it was a really interesting music video. I liked watching that as well.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into some other non-single tracks, if you don't mind telling me the story behind them or meaning or anything like that. Noise, I really like that one a lot.
Noise, the idea behind noise is the sort of striving for success, or striving to, be a better you, or to, I don't know, sort of excel at whatever it is you're passionate about, but also being vulnerable, and sort of anxious to the results that can come with that. Um, so yeah, it's caught up in the noise, which is pretty self-explanatory, but
Mhm.
um, I think kind of panning out a little bit, it's a song that again looks at like the susceptibilities that one can face with further achievement.
Are you primarily writing all the lyrics, or do you guys do it together, or how does that work?
So this was our first time where John really kicked in a lot of the lyrics. He
Okay.
wrote a fair amount on the act, our last full length. But prior to that, I've always been the go-to lyric guy in the band. But John wrote a ton of them on this one.
Okay. And do you just kind of get inspiration whenever, wherever, or do you have to like get into a certain space and headspace to do it?
Both, very much both. A lot of the recording of the album was also a remote location that we had a rental property out in the desert outside Palm Springs, between Palm Springs and Joshua Tree, basically. And when we were, wake up, start working on songs, and sometimes, that's just about like going to the office, as far as, you eat breakfast and then you start working and you work through the day. But otherwise, a lot of my more vague sort of foggy ideas can come from just about anywhere, from reading or just going about everyday life, that I might jot down a certain theme or premise and then come back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, a lot of times, my to get in my creative space, if I'm gonna write or do something like that, I gotta get away from my 4 kids because it's just that's my noise all the time. I actually kicked them out of the house here for a little bit to do the interview with you, but yeah, it's just interesting. Sometimes people need that quiet time, and other times it's like my wife, she just thrives on that chaos around her, and that's when she can do her best creative work. But yeah, it's interesting.
Certainly.
Um, Fire. That's not your typical Prada song, but it's not anything we haven't kind of seen before. You guys have had some slower and softer stuff, but that one really stood out to me on this album as well.
Yeah, I mean, really, since Dead Throne, we've tried to concentrate on the slower moments and have the ebbs and flows
Hmm.
throughout a full length. I can't speak very much to the lyrical content, and that one was very much a John song.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I think what's kind of cool about Fire is that it really dips to a point. Like, we have our less heavy songs, you want to call it, or
Hmm.
the quieter songs. I guess we should at some point find a sort of token term
Yeah, I
for
didn't know how to
tune.
describe it either. That's
Yeah, but I think I think Fire really incorporates a lot of like pop elements that we've never played with before, and certainly elements that John is very into and uses throughout his work that isn't the Devil Wears Prada. And
Hmm.
I've constantly just been describing as Color Decay being a metalcore album where it's not trying to get outside metalcore and make a record, but it's trying to bring any and all elements into
Yeah,
metalcore to make the songs. And I think some of the musical characteristics of Fire certainly speak to that.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't talk to many people like this, but like sometimes you meet those guys, it's like, oh, they changed so much, they're sold out, whatever. And it's like, dude, bands grow and change over time, and I prefer that. I like to hear the ebbs and the flows and the ups and the downs on an album, and not just all bangers. It's just like I want to feel something when I listen to a full length. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how many of your albums. I love it from front to back, just listening through. And this one especially, you got your real bangers, and then it brings down like Fire or 25. I don't know if you want to talk about that one too. That's another one that's kind of slower, but I love it.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. 25 is when I heard the instrumental for that one, it just felt like a very obvious breakup song. Circumstances I went through on a personal level throughout COVID, and um, yeah, that one was really just laying it all out there, for lack of better terms. Just I I wanted to address, these cathartic matters as I always have for Prada, but that's one that I really never want to revisit or play live. Just a little too close for the
Mhm.
first time, I think, for me personally. But I know John likes it, and I know the other members really like that song, but not one I care to dig up again.
Sure. All right. Well, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions about this one. Cancer is the last song I wanted to talk to you about. That one to me just seemed like real raw, vulnerable. So I don't know if you can speak into that one.
Yeah, Cancer's the one everyone asks about, which is awesome because it's certainly one of our collective favorites from the album. But I love that it finishes the album. I feel like I've mentioned this a bunch before, but I feel like a lot of people kind of tune out the back half of our records, and I think closing with Cancer is a real bang and one that we're grateful and proud of. But basically, John wrote this chorus or this song based on a hero of his passing away, and his immediate reaction was that I hope that it's cancer, not something else, being that he was worried. His initial reaction was that he was worried it was like an overdose or suicide.
Right, right.
And then the rest of the verses in the song just looks at like what like a horrible, awful reaction that is, and how could that take place. And I think it just speaks to, again, like what happens with age and getting older, as far as like the reason that I hope that it's cancer, I think, is that, it's because we have seen these suicides and these overdoses from brilliant, creative, sort of monumental heroes, and
Hmm.
that's the sort of the idea through that tune.
When I first heard it, it made me think of like how often, even like the struggles like we have, maybe a depression or something like that. Like a lot of people still view that stuff as taboo. And when you have something major going on in your life, you almost hope that it's medical because then you get like people's sympathy or empathy or whatever. And when it's something like depression or anxiety or whatever, a lot of people don't understand it, and it's hard to talk about, and then you feel so alone. So I kind of read into that song wrong when I first heard it, but it still gave me the same type of feeling of why can't this be something we can talk more about and not something that a lot of people don't want to. But yeah,
Certainly.
that was a great song, great way to end the album, and I hope to hear that one live sometime. So
I'm down. I'm
little
certainly
little
down.
little hint there, Mike. I think you should do it. So you guys are just wrapping up a tour now in the U.S., right? But you got plans for Europe this fall?
Yep, we head to Europe. Um, Really, about 2.5 weeks after we wrap this tour, I fly home to Wisconsin on Monday.
Okay.
Um, and then it's about 2.5 weeks from then that we head over there with Wage War. It's our first time playing Europe since the end of 2019.
Okay.
I love being overseas. It's one of my favorite components of playing music is getting to travel Europe and be outside the states. So very much looking forward to it. Love being over there, just walking around, exploring, and yeah, it should be awesome.
Yeah. Well, my next question for you, if you love traveling over to Europe, do you like to see like the tourist sites, or do you like to kind of get into the neighborhoods where most people don't go and just really get a feel of the real culture?
It's a lot of both. I can never really make too strict of plans. If I feel like I make plans, like if I go on like a just a vacation as any human being, I can never really make plans because it turns into work for me. I'd rather just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
So usually, unless it's I have a sort of stringent appointment for something, I usually just start walking and end up where I end up. And if if I find I always have a book on me, so if I find a nice park, I can sit down and
Mm.
read, or if I'm feeling a little tired, grab a coffee, and then later in the day it's beer time, so find a bar and such. So um, it's mostly just kind of up in the air for me, and also other guys are like, oh, I found this, come over here, and you kind of do that, but
Yeah.
nothing too terribly touristy, I don't think.
Are you a foodie? Do you like trying new stuff that you can't get here?
Um, I wouldn't call myself a foodie. I'm vegan,
Okay.
so I'm very I have to find my dietary,
Sure.
what I can have. But it's fun getting to go to different places and getting different food. But um, I love cooking. All in all, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest foodie though. I have my like very strict 2 meals a day, and I figure that out, and just try to take care of my body being on tour.
Yeah. Do you like intermittent fast in the morning or something? Skip breakfast or?
No, I just do 2 big meals a day, which I know a lot of people say it's better to eat more frequently, smaller meals, but I do two a day. I do it at home. I do it on tour. Obviously I can't eat a huge meal and then scream for 90 minutes.
Right.
So
Right.
I gotta have my food at a certain time. As one would assume as well, garlic doesn't treat me all that great, which is a bummer. But not a lot of Indian food on tour. That can be it's like too much flavor to then
Sure.
play our 21 song set. So
Yeah.
just keeping mind of those things.
Yeah. I'm fascinated, and I hope you're okay talking about this. But when did you go vegan, and what was the reason behind that?
I've been vegetarian forever, and
Okay.
at one point, I became more aware watching documentaries as far as the really vegetarianism does nothing to actually save animals, nor does it do anything in terms of the environmental impacts of livestock harvesting. So with that, that was the biggest thing. I don't want to kill animals, and it's terrible for the environment to
Mm,
make animals the way you would make plastic or something. So
sure.
um, that's the big thing for me.
Did you notice a lot of health issue or health improvement, I should say, when you switched over as well?
I honestly think I had a lot. I lost a lot of weight when I went vegetarian back in like 2010.
Mm,
Um, but I definitely had some nice stomach issues resolve and become certainly less frequent once I went vegan and lost eggs. I think eggs were really beating the life out of my in my stomach for years and years.
hmm,
Um, and I think just generally the lethargy can be better. You can definitely feel like I'm not saying like go vegan and you're healthy because I eat a lot of sodium and soy and wheat, but um, to a certain extent, again, some really unfortunate stomach issues were happily resolved losing eggs and cheese.
yeah. Yeah, that's why you didn't get excited when I brought up cheese before. I didn't know that you were vegan. So
I mean, but again, I love Wisconsin, and it's
that's
it's America's Dairyland.
yeah. Yeah, I got the total dad bod now. I gotta lose some weight, but I just love meat too much, so I don't know if I could do it. But all right, well, any last comments for the Brutal Planet listeners, Mike?
No, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words about the record. Everyone can check it out on the 16th, and yeah, more touring here in the States early next year. We'll have that
Awesome.
announcement in the coming months.
Yeah, listeners, I can't tell you enough. The album's great. Can't wait for you to hear it. I'll put a link to your website, Mike, in the interview, and then people can hopefully go get some merch or something too. So thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too.